Okay.
He says, I would like to ask Charles if he could shed some much-needed clarity on the legacy and work of Walt Disney. It seems that since his death, he's been written off as everything from a 33rd degree Freemason to an employer of known pedophiles to a Satanist to anti-Semitic. Please insert hand puppet blah 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 motion here if appropriate.
It sure is.
I grew up watching his show, and it's difficult for me to imagine that a man with such a keen sense of what normal, healthy children enjoy would be a knowing shill and accomplice in their undoing. How much legs does the current vilification campaign of the man actually have? Might it be in some way connected to his staunch anti-communism, or perhaps an occasional offhanded comment about his Jewish competitors in Hollywood?
Well, let me say that I am so old, I can remember when Uncle Walt introduced the show himself. That's how old I am.
Wow.
Walt was still alive. This is something I've actually given a lot of thought to in the past few weeks, believe it or not. Why, you ask? Well, because of my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Because Disney was a big part of my growing up, the way it's everybody in my generation. What I would say about Walt Disney is that his faults and his virtues were, not unlike Ronald Reagan, those of the country itself. You know, was he a Freemason? Yeah, very probably. He was a big joiner. In fact, he belonged to the LA Breakfast Club, as I do myself.
Ooh.
And, as did Ronald Reagan, so you see. And Freemasonry in this country, well, it's as American as apple pie. Every American's a Freemason, ideologically. Mm-hmm. The way every Italian is a Catholic.
Right.
Not all Italians believe the Catholic faith.
Right.
But culturally, they are Catholic. For all the good it does them. But their attitudes are Catholic. Well, that's how Americans are vis-a-vis Freemasonry. It's our state religion, our established faith. And what does that mean, really? Well, what it means is conduct above creed. It doesn't matter what you believe as long as you're a nice person. We're all into that. It's the four chaplains, you know, that went down in the Dorchester. One rabbi and two ministers and a priest, or two priests and a minister. Or the Cathedral of the Pines in Rindge, New Hampshire. You know, the tomorrow's celebrations, that'll be all interfaith. Mm-hmm. It's very much a part of who the American psyche. Mm-hmm. You know, as long as we're all good men, good people, you know, pulling together, blah blah blah. That's the essence of revealed Freemasonry. That's its message. Now, from a Catholic perspective, of course, it's horrible. Having said that, it's what we are. It's what we grew up with. And it is what it is. You know, it's like if we were in Japan, we'd be heavily influenced by Shinto. If we were in India, we'd be heavily influenced by Hinduism. So let me return to Reagan and Disney. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Midwesterners who had great dreams came out to California and made those dreams reality. A bit over the top sometimes. Another good example of people like that, Dr. Hubert Eaton, the founder of Forest Lawn, the Disneyland of death.
Of course.
Of course, but stop and think. A Midwesterner comes out here with unlimited stuff, is able to make his dream a reality. Mm-hmm. That's why it's the Disneyland of death. Clifford Clinton, Clifton's Cafeterias, which you possibly don't remember, but really over the top in decor and all that. Disneyland for eating.
I remember it. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. And you won't be shocked to know that Disney, Dr. Eaton, and Clifford Clinton were pals.
Okay.
See?
There you go.
So, and Reagan was very much cut from that cloth. Objectively speaking, there's an awful lot that's terribly wrong with that. Subjectively speaking, it's better than anything we're ever likely to encounter again. I mean, you could say, for instance, specifically, Disney's dealing with legendary material and fairy tales, right? Mm-hmm. You can say, on the one hand, he homogenized it, gutted it, made it kind of bland, blah, 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 blah. You know what? You're right. You can also say he stimulated a couple generations' imagination, got them to look at things with a sense of wonder and awe.
Absolutely.
And you'd be right. You see, these two things are seemingly contradictory, but they're not. They're the same. That was Disney. And his imagination was wide-ranging. If you look at now, and I have to distinguish, of course, between Disney before the family were forced out and Michael Eisner came in,
Right.
and after. I mean, people say to me, well, Disneyland's all pro-gay. I'm so old, I remember when they got into a big fight because they wouldn't allow same-sex couples to dance at high school proms at Disneyland. That's how old I am. But, of course, the people that run the Disney company now are part of the mainstream that are dominant in this country. And that's, they are what they are. But having said that, Uncle Walt was definitely, on the one hand, a product of his place and time with all those failings, but on the other, a tremendous, as he would have put it, Imagineer. And I mean, he was certainly out to make a buck. It was a business, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what my query asks is quite true. Or says is quite true. He knew kids, he knew what they liked, and he liked entertaining them. And for what it is, it's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. I was captivated. The magical kingdom of Disney. It was awe-inspiring, and I remember. I don't know when Michael Eisner. It felt like early '90s he came in, or around there, or when.
Well, '92, I think.
Yeah, I could tell. I was like, "Who is this Joker?" And it lost that certain feeling. These movies, it lost that.
Well, it went from being a profitable way of entertaining kids to a mere business.
Right.
And it acquired a kind of cynical edge to it. I mean, now so many of the new Disney films, my personal hobby horse to dislike is Malevolent or Maleficent or whatever it is. But I don't really care to see them.